Mr. Alex. Thank you so much for coming on, man.
My pleasure. Looking forward to it.
You know, we're Facebook friends, but we haven't actually met.
That's right.
I just been stalking you because I've always known that you're a badass realtor. So it's good to actually finally meet you, man.
Same here. I hear that quite a bit. It's funny because, you know, people ask me, it's like, what's your criteria to accept me as a friend on Facebook? I'm like, honestly, if you don't have anything weird, I'll take you.
That's funny. Well, as a real estate, you know, like we're always on.
Right.
You know, so it's like anybody's a client.
That's right.
And as a broker, because you're a broker too.
Correct.
So cool. Man, so what made me reach out to you initially is that you just won this huge award for the Greater Houston Builders
Association. Yeah.
So that new homes is like a huge part of your brand and everything. I've noticed. Mm-hmm. You're the new home guy.
New home dude.
Yeah, the new home dude. That's awesome.
Right.
So tell us a little bit about you know, going back. How long you been in real estate and how'd you get there?
Started in 2003 and did new homes for a while.
Good times.
I started in 2003 doing new homes and was with a builder called Kimball Hill. They're no longer available. Yeah, they were a pretty good company here in Houston, did really well. Had some issues corporate-wise and went down, I think, in 08, 09. So I left them a little before that. Did a custom builder for a while. And then after custom builder, went to Taylor Morrison in 2008. And 2008 also got my real estate license on the side. Just started working with some friends and family and things like that.
So you were new home sales first.
So yeah, I did new home sales for about 5 years.
And you didn't need your license back then?
No license for new home sales. And it was funny because people forget my name, right? So I would call them to kind of follow up and what's going on. And you hear the husband or the wife going, "Oh, it's the new home dude." So it kind of started. I heard that so many times that I said, you know what? I need to kind of make that into my own motto there. So I started using it, and then it just caught up, and people just started recognizing me that way. And
you were branding before like branding was cool.
That's right. I didn't even know what I was doing.
2003, man. That's crazy.
Yeah.
So when you you were doing the new home sales, and you kind of like you liked new homes,
right? Yeah, no, I love new homes. New homes were really fun, and that's part of why I didn't really want to leave that, right? Mm-hmm. I did basically an expansion of my business. I was like, instead of just selling new homes, why didn't I have people on the resale side as well, and be able to make a bigger difference instead of just being. I kind of felt a lot of times where you're kind of secluded to a small area in new construction, which is
neighborhood.
Yeah,
because only certain neighborhoods or areas are going.
Correct. So you get stuck there, and you can do a really good job at it, but a lot of times you feel limited, right? To where, okay, I can only sell this. So a customer would walk in the door, and I would buy, me and him would bond, and I knew I could have that person as a client, but I wasn't able to because they would have to walk down the street and go buy from somebody else. And I got to see that enough times to say, you know what? I need to be able to help these people because I see that they need the assistance, and they're actually asking for the help, and they don't have someone that can help them. I kind of started merging over the other way, but I didn't stop selling new homes, because I love it.
So you were working for the builders, and then you left the builder, and then you started doing it on your own. Yeah. So how did that affect your new home business? Like, obviously, it's really easy to be a new home salesman,
right?
So like, how did you transition that from like continuing to get those leads and stuff?
Right. So no, new home sales, it's actually quite hard to do because, again, you have so many limitations. You can only help that individual in that particular area for the homes you have available. Yeah. So it's a very niche market, right? And what I did is I started kind of understanding that part of it, learning more on the resale side. So I started meeting with the top of realtors that I work with back in the days. I had a lot of good mentors that I met with, had lunch and talked about.
Like agents that you had met through the new home sales.
Correct. Yeah. And started, taking them to lunch and finding out what were the things that they did in their business that worked for them, and what are the things that I could start implementing so that eventually when I decided to go and sell new homes, or resell, I could do it. And in 2010, I kind of made the search, and I went on to RE/MAX. I joined actually December 2009.
Oh, awesome.
And when I did that, I had more deals on the books on my resale side than I did in my new homes. So to me, it was kind of like, this is the time to do it. I'm writing more on the side with friends and family and just doing my own marketing than I am sitting in the community.
Versus business that you would never have had access to.
Correct.
So man, like you kind of fast forwarded there. How did you do during the the hard times of 2008, 2009?
That was actually a great time for me to set things up. It was almost like people talk about hard times, and hard times have always difficult things, right? But there's also the brighter side of it you look at is if you plan ahead and you kind of schedule yourself to when things turn back around, you'll be prepared on taking on that business. And that's kind of what I did. I just sat back and started looking to where the areas that I could improve. And I did a lot of foreclosures and I mean, I was pretty much just showing foreclosures every day.
To do at that time.
That's what everybody was showing and doing, right? I had a foreclosure kit in my truck.
What's that?
Well, you know, I had flashlights and wasp sprays and all that, you know, paper towels, whatever, all kinds of fun stuff that we had in there. Probably about 10, 15 things. I don't remember. It's been so long now. But
that's a good tip, a little foreclosure, man, because you run into some nasty stuff.
Yeah, we did. I had boots and, you know, all kinds of neat stuff. And usually what I did is I would go through it and kind of get familiar with what was in the market, and I'll put together a list of foreclosure homes. And I did some yard signs to put in the neighborhood, free foreclosure lists and stuff like that. People started calling me. And then you just kind of started doing that.
The original lead magnet.
Yeah, until the market started turning around, and I didn't have to sell as many foreclosures anymore.
That's awesome. So now you own a RE/MAX brokerage.
Right.
So how did you, how did that process go along? Like, how did you go from being a new home salesman to doing it on your own, and then to, you know, being a brokerage? We haven't even mentioned your team, who's killing it right now, but we'll get there. So tell us about that becoming a broker.
You know, it was a couple different steps, right? So when I was making that leap of moving from one industry to the similar industry but a completely different business, I looked around to see who do I want to work with, right? And I felt like I was like associating myself to some of the best people in the market, and then RE/MAX always stand out for me, right? So when I started looking, I had an opportunity to come in to a small office with 10, 15 people in there, and I said it'll be a good place to start. And once I went in, I wasn't there very long before I actually became an owner for that particular office as well. I bought a smaller part of the ownership. I was only about 10% into that office. But it was a way for me to invest into it, because I realized very soon that the amount of money I was going to be paying as an agent over time, it would eventually cost to where it would be cheaper than, you know.
Yeah, actually being an owner, it made more sense for you.
Right. So for me, just the business sense of looking at the numbers, I said, you know what, for me to be a partner here, as compared to being an associate, I said I can save some money in a couple of years. So, and they were open to it. I bought 10% of it, became an owner. I was there from, like I said, 2010 to December of last year, which is 2016. Okay. And then 2016, we opened our own office, actually in January of this year, 2017.
Wow, congrats. I didn't realize it was that new.
Yeah, it's that new. Yeah, we just pretty much opened doors January 1st, 2nd.
Man, what's the name of the brokerage so we all know?
Right, so it's RE/MAX Pioneers.
Awesome. Well, congrats on that next step.
Thank you.
You're doing a team model, though.
Right.
Is that how you're running the business?
No, we have both, actually. So I have a team model, which goes under my team. And then
What's that called? What's the team
So
called?
Right now, it's a Houston New Home Team.
Houston New Home Team.
Yeah, which lines up with everything else that I've kind of done.
Unbranded to you.
Yeah.
And it's, stands alone. Okay.
Yeah, and that's the thing about it. You know, I from talking with a lot of the agents, right, that I mentioned to you before, when I was looking at you going to, a lot of times people brand it under themselves, which is good if you're thinking about growing your business. But it's tough for your team members to grow their business because they feel like they're behind you all the time. So we did that as a purpose of, okay, it's a Houston New Home Team. It's something that anybody can come and work in the office and not feel like they're having to follow my footsteps.
Or they're, under your shadow.
Exactly.
The Alex Rezende team.
Right, but they could use the team numbers, right, because they are part of the team. So when they go meet a client, they can easily say, hey, listen, I'm part of one of the top teams in the city. Here's our numbers, right, because I'm part of that team. It's not Alex's team.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
And did you get any, not pushback, but how did you handle, like, do people think that you don't do resale homes because, you're the Houston New Home Team? Like, do you run into that issue?
No, not because, new home is a new home to you, right? So you could use it easily either way you want. I could say new homes only, or I could say, no, it's a new home to you.
Wow, that's so funny. I didn't even think about that part.
Right.
Yeah, it's a new home to me. Yeah.
Right. So it's a new home to you. So it's more of so you present it, so that people understand it's not just new homes. It's both. But the new home is part of a lot what I do, right?
That's awesome. So tell us a little bit more about your team strategy, because we pulled your numbers, which I thought it was your team, but you've done $34 million this year so far, and that's amazing. So how are you juggling your own business? Like, what's the processes and stuff you have for that?
That's really some of the biggest challenges, as you know, as you evolve and going from just yourself to having a team, is being able to accomplish all the things that you're doing as still a selling agent, and then be able to do some training, be able to do basically ride the ship, right? So I'm basically right in front and I'm the captain, and I'm like, okay, this is where we're going to go, and kind of make sure everybody's looking the same direction and keep them moving. That challenge there is really the time issue more than anything. Mm-hmm. I think that we always looking for good people. We look for talent first and then try to learn the skills, because I think it's a lot easier to hire talent and teach them the skills than if they have no talent and no skills, you're kind of fighting two battles, right?
Yeah, that's true.
So that's really one of the things that when you're talking to anybody, if you're thinking about growing your team, you really should look for talent. Sometimes people try to specifically look for some characteristic or some skills that they think that person has learned in the previous job that could relate to real estate. And that is important, but at the same time, is if that person is eager, that person has talent, that person has the heart that it takes, I believe they'll learn the skills, no problem.
Yeah. So that's funny. So what you're calling talent, I think the military calls character.
Right.
So they find character, and then you train for the skills, because the character is, wanting the desire and the hustle and, that stuff. So that's a good point, because a lot of people, a lot of agents and brokers look for real estate experience, or if they want to hire somebody, what's your real estate experience? Right. And that's something that we've kind of, our office has kind of had an aha moment where we're kind of like going out to corporate. It's people who have 9-to-5s and who have the discipline and the structure and the talent, like you said, but that will be, I guess, grateful for the real estate flexibility. Right. Because we can get some bad habits as realtors.
For sure.
So juggling 2 full-time jobs, so how do you, is your business your personal business? Do you do all that stuff, or do you have admin? Do you hand off a contract? How does that work?
Right. So my office set up very different, because I do enjoy the hustle and bustle, right? There's a lot of teams. Yeah, there's a lot of teams that have people that they're the name and they're the face behind it, but they're really not actually doing the work. They're basically, like you said, handling things over to other people. I go in listing appointments. I go show properties. I go to walkthroughs. I go to every single closing that I have.
Really? Wow.
So I make certain that the client gets to see me, even if I don't touch the paperwork sometimes. You know what I mean? Somebody else is doing the paperwork a lot of times, but I do it as well. So I'm not one of those to step back and say, no, I'm this guy now. I'm not going to touch the paperwork. As a matter of fact, a lot of times on the weekends, my team is off and I'm the one doing everything. I'm basically showing, I'm doing listing appointments, I'm signing agreements, I'm getting executed contracts, negotiating repairs, whatever it takes on the weekends when they're chilling. You know what I mean? So I try to get as involved as I can, because I feel like my team feels that I'm working hard. They have a hard time not doing the same thing.
Leading by example.
Yeah.
Which is the best.
Yeah. I have a office manager, I have a listing manager, and I also have a marketing person. Actually 2 right now. We just hired another one. So we have 2 marketing people. Awesome. And just kind of, a lot of times they do have some sort of a title and they do have some sort of a task that they work on, but I make sure they're all able to do all of it.
Interesting.
Because if somebody's out, or if I need something, I don't want to be, okay, I can only talk to so-and-so to do it. If let's say I need an amendment really quick, I'm out on the road, I don't want to have to call this person, and then they're all helping with something else, and now I'm stuck and I can't get it done. So it's good for me to know that someone else in the office can handle it, so I can just say, hey, I need this.
Some redundancy, just basically, in case. Yeah. So you said you have like 3 admins pretty much. So that's the office manager, listing manager, and then the buy side?
No, it's actually on the listing side still.
Okay, so 2 on the listing side?
Right.
And then how many agents do you have under your team?
Right, so right now on our team, we've got 6 agents. So.
And how many, do any of them focus specifically on buyers or listings, or it's open?
So we've got 2 that are primarily on the buyer side, and then the other guys are open. They do pretty much everything that comes their way.
Okay.
And we do give out our leads and also calls on our listings. And, at first in the beginning, it was a little more secluded to where, okay, because you're kind of trying to start out. You don't want to, screw it up almost. So you kind of try to be careful. And you're like, oh, I won't ever call to come to me and stuff. But then it gets to a point where you really just can't handle them, right? So
for quality assurance
of course,
purposes.
Yeah.
So how did you handle that? What do you do?
So, well, we basically started trying to train them, make sure that they could handle those calls and handle those leads. So then now I barely touch a lot of the leads that come in on the buyer side.
That's awesome.
Very seldom. If on the weekend somebody calls or whatever, I may help it. But a lot of times I'll pass it on to my agents, because I figure that the more they grow, the team will grow. Because I know there's only so many hours in a day for me to do everything. Mm-hmm. And when you're trying, like you said, trying between the managing and actually selling, there's a point where you have to say, okay, if I'm going to be gone for 3-4 hours out of the day to go show this client, I could be helping 5-6 clients, knocking a bunch of stuff out. So that's when you say, no, let me have this person handle it, and then I'll move on. And that part of it is hard because you have to also learn how to be able to pass that on, right?
Let go.
Yeah, you have to let go for sure.
Yeah.
You can't grow if you don't let go.
That's good. You can't grow unless you let go.
Yeah.
Man, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So it's like how do you focus on like your strategy or your marketing as far as the new home thing? Like, do you do anything specifically for targeting new homes?
You know, it's more of I believe it's more of a neighborhood driven thing. You know, it's the psychology of buying with a lot of these clients, right? They're looking at, if they want to buy a new home, they usually have a specific area of town that they're looking for. So we try to help them buy school or neighborhoods. And then market enough in there so that they can see you when they're looking. So it's almost like, let's say, if you pick a neighborhood and you know what the top school is there and you know that's where the people want to go, you know, as an agent, I would say what you want to do is you want to market yourself to both of those areas, to the neighborhood and to the schools. So when people are researching that area and those schools, you're going to come up.
So how do you do that?
Multiple things. So we do mail outs. I still do some mail outs. We do online.
Like what? Like just listed, just sold?
Just listed, just sold. Sometimes neighborhood summaries of just the sales of what the neighborhood did.
Awesome.
Being part of HOA newsletters. You know, sending Facebook sponsored ads. You know, other different SEOs and AdWords and all that fun stuff.
Targeting the neighborhood.
Correct.
Kind of like getting you associated with the neighborhood.
Right.
Okay. And do you have...
It's the old school farming. It really what it is.
Yeah,
it's just different to where now you're having to do a little more digital, right?
But you said with the Facebook ads, and that's something that we really teach our agents, is to connect the offline and the online. So it's really powerful when people are getting your, you know, old school mail, snail mail, but they're also seeing you on Facebook. So they're like, damn, you're everywhere.
That's right. And that's what you want.
Yeah.
You really want them to see you everywhere. But, you know, it's easy for you to just try to market yourself and keep putting yourself out there and putting your face everywhere. But if people can't relate to something, they have a hard time, because when they think of a house, how are they going to connect it to you?
So how do you do that?
And that's the part of picking in specific areas and working on them.
Okay.
So, for example, if I have a listing in an area that I'm more inclined to want to continue to work, I will spend more money and time in that area because I wanted to continue to have business there. But I'm not going to turn down a listing that's 30, 40 miles away from my house or from the office that I really probably not going to go back there again for a while. I'll take it. I'm going to help them, but I'm not going to market there.
So when you get a listing and you want the area, you double down.
Correct.
You like really double down on that. That's a good strategy, man, because like listings are opportunities,
right?
You know, and like you have a great opportunity in the neighborhood, so double down on it.
Yeah, if you're there, I mean, that's where you want to spend your money and time. You know, that's the part of saying, hey, this is an area that I see myself working in, and then realizing what are the different things about that neighborhood and how to market yourself there. You know, I've had some areas that it's been really hard to get into, and then the moment you're in, and then you can put a lot of money in there and then realize that, well, I was able to get a little market share. You know, I didn't have any, right? So now I come in and I get a little bit. And sometimes it's not trying to dominate that neighborhood, but if I can just get 10% of an area I didn't have any, and then another 10% somewhere else.
Yeah, that's great market share. I mean, 10%.
Right.
You know, that's huge, man, because a lot of, you know, I see agents, or even I'm guilty myself when I used to sell, is that like, you know, you get the listing and then shit's happening and you're busy and then you don't take advantage of it and then it's under contract.
Right.
And, you know, and then it's closed and you're like, and then your sign's gone.
Yeah.
And it's like, shit, I could have like really taken advantage of the opportunity to cement myself in the community.
That's right. That's really where you need to realize, if that's an important neighborhood to you, that you've got to spend your time, you got to spend your money there to continue to get more, because that is your biggest, best type of marketing, is to have your sign in the yard.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, that's almost free, right? If you think about it, you put a sign in the yard, and you get all the other things that come along with the listing, whatever. But at the end of the day, that sign itself, you know, $40-$50, and you got your name sitting there for
it's like
30 days, 60 days, right?
It's like a free billboard.
Yeah.
So is there anything specific that you would recommend that like you do to really market, like double down on a listing that you would do?
Yeah, when you're in a neighborhood, you know, I usually pull up rentals. You know, I see who's renting out there.
Interesting.
And then try to, because I mean, those I've sold a lot of homes to renters, people that were in the neighborhood that wanted to continue to be there, but they came in, wanted to try it out first, or their financial situation was some sort of situation they couldn't afford it at a particular time. Now they wanted to buy in that area because they're already there, they live there.
So what do? You find the renters, and then do you call them? Do you mail them? You say, hey, I have a listing?
I've done just about everything. Call, mail, put in door hangers. Go out and meet them at the house and give them my card. For the renters. Right.
Interesting. Yeah. Okay, cool. What else do you do?
Obviously the just listed, just sold cards, open houses, I
love open houses.
When you're out in the neighborhood, open houses it's one of those things that I try to explain to people that the open house still works, right? But they are not something that you're going to walk in and you're going to sell a home right away. That's not the way open house is designed. That's not what's going to happen. That's not, you see on HDTV and all those places, right? They have 30 people in an open house and they sell it within a couple of days.
It's a great open house.
Yeah, right. It can happen. But usually you're looking at about 4 to 5% a chance of getting that home sold to an individual during that open house. And that's if you know how to close.
That specific open house. I mean, that listing.
That listing, right. But you have the opportunity to increase your business to sell something else, right? To whether you get another listing down the street or get a buyer or get a friend of a friend or whatever the case may be, or start building your brand into a particular area. So there's so many other things that go along with it that it's hard to judge to say, okay, I was able to get this business out of that open house itself. Yeah. I've had a client of mine that requested an open house every Saturday until the home was sold, right? Normally, I don't like doing that, but this guy was adamant about it and said, no problem. So we literally did somewhere between 18 to 20 open houses on his house before we had a contract.
Whoa.
I had 7 agents go through that house, everybody taking chances on Saturdays and seeing what happens. I had one guy, and he held probably about half of the open houses. And he was able to sell the house in the open house.
Oh, he sold that house in the open house?
Yes, himself. But it goes back to I had 20 to get that one.
It's a numbers game.
Right. Yeah. So he was the only one that didn't give up, that said, you know what, I'm going to continue to do it. And I paid him a bonus on it because for his hard work. It was one of those things that he made it happen for all of us, right? Yeah. Me as a listing agent, him.
He made it happen. Yeah.
Right, he made it happen. So, but it was some of those things that part of the coaching, part of the training, to where if he divided the times that he was in the house by the amount of commission he still got paid very well. Mm-hmm. But the part of
like
never giving
$100 an hour or something like
that.
No,
he got paid a lot more than that. It was a $350,000 home. So
nice.
Almost $10,000 commission in 9 showings or 9 days.
Oh, yeah. Wow. $1,000 an hour.
That's what I'm saying. So
yeah. And that's crazy because like you said, it's very small percentage. Mm-hmm. And what we train our agents, or what we kind of coach our agents, is to not, like, your goal of the open house is to not sell that house. It's to find a buyer. It's to find someone to work with in the next 60 to 90 days. Mm-hmm. There's someone, a ready, willing, and able person to work with.
Right.
That will buy something in the next 60 to 90 days. Mm-hmm. So hearing that actually sold one, that's pretty crazy.
Yeah. But that's the part where I'm saying that you have to be very careful, because you do want to have both goals in mind. The initial one is, why not? If I'm in this house, why not trying to sell it? So you do have to have that salesperson's hat of, let me try to get this one sold today.
But don't write it off.
Here. Right, but don't write it off, and don't be extremely pushy to the point where don't forget that it's not the only home you can sell.
Yeah, exactly.
Because you don't want to push the clients when they walk in the door so hard that because you want to sell this particular home, then now they feel, a little standoffish or something.
I mean, pushiness, man. You can smell the desperation.
Exactly.
And that's not a good smell.
Right. So then you kind of be able to do it to where it's classy, it's nice, and it's a soft close, but then also let them know you can go help them with something else.
Yeah, for sure. That's huge. So, like with that listing, with the seller, you said that wanted it every day, which is kind of a crazy, crazy request. Was that a neighborhood that you really wanted to be in?
It was a single ranch.
Oh, okay.
So it's a good neighborhood.
So you'll do anything.
Right. So neighborhoods like that, that's what I said. That's when you buckle down. That's when you spend a little extra money in marketing. That's when you go in there and you're like, okay, there's a lot of business here, right? So why not? This is what you want to do.
That's awesome. Cool. Man, so I heard a lot about your business. So tell us a little bit about you. Where are you from? Like your story. How'd you get into? So like after college, like what happened?
Yeah, crazy story there. So let's get started.
Awesome.
I'm originally from Brazil.
Interesting. Awesome.
Yeah, I was born and raised in Brazil. Moved here to Houston in 1998. So came in with a suitcase, and my dad and my stepmom lived here. So I was about to go to college in Brazil. So my dad offered me to come up and go to school here instead.
So you grew up in Brazil and then you moved here?
Yep, grew up in Brazil. Cool. So when I came to U.S., I did not speak any English at all. I had 2 boxes in a suitcase that was basically all my belongings, and kind of moved here with no look back attitude. Mm-hmm. So let's make this work. Had to learn English as I went. I wanted to go to college, but they told me I didn't have enough credits. I needed to go back to high school. So I went back to high school at 18 years old as a sophomore.
Dang. Wow.
Which was really tough because
man, that's got to be tough.
It was. I was an older guy. Everybody kind of look at you like you're almost kind of a what's wrong with that guy, right?
He has a beard.
Yeah, he's a little slow, right?
What school was that?
So I went to Westfield for 6 months, Westfield High School.
Okay, I know that.
And then I went to Humble High School, graduated in Humble. And I had to do English as second language classes for about 6-7 months. And I realized that if I stayed there, it would take me a lot longer to actually move forward. So I told them, I said, just throw me in the regular classes and I'll figure it out. So I would literally study. As I was in school, I would get home and I would study for another 6 to 7 hours every day, in addition to what I did in class, to figure out what they were talking about because I had no idea, right?
Just English, wow.
Yeah. And so it took me quite a while to feel comfortable with it. And I graduated in 99. Went to U of H for a while, and
Go Cougs.
Yeah, got a hotel and restaurant management degree. Worked at Marriott for 5 years.
They have a great program.
Yeah,
I hear.
So I worked at Marriott hotels for years, and that was one of the places where I focused on hospitality and taking care of people. So it was a great training for me. It was actually better than in university. I think just hands-on every day, taking care of people was a big deal.
That giving that amazing service.
Correct.
It's what it's all about, man.
Right.
So that's awesome. So how do you think that, how did that experience play into your real estate, specifically?
Yeah, well, I mean, I went from the front office of the hotel to the sales part of the hotel. So I actually evolved from the front to the sales department. So when I was in sales, I went through a lot of sales training.
What did you sell at the hotel?
We sell conference rooms, some meeting spaces, guest bedrooms, so a lot of conferences. So if you think of a RE/MAX convention, for example, you sell the space in the bedrooms.
Okay.
So we did stuff like that.
Oh, okay, makes sense.
Yeah, so I did that for a couple of years, and then decided to sell something that people could actually keep because those hotels are expensive, and it was almost like a rental, right? You pay and then you got to give it back. Mm-hmm. So that's when I had a friend of mine that used to work with me, and I went to sell new homes. And I decided to kind of look into it, like the idea, and decided to sell new homes.
That's awesome. So, and how old were you when you got into real estate?
So 2003, what am I looking at? Man, about 23, 24.
Wow, youngin'. Mm-hmm. That's when I started at 21, so that's cool. So, what percentage of your business do you think is actual new homes?
I'm fairly close to about 50%.
Wow, that's pretty big. And is that a lot of new? Is that buyers, or do you have any listing contracts with them?
No, it's actually buyers. I have very few listings on the builder side. That is also another difference about us and some of the bigger teams, because they do have builder accounts, and they'll list hundreds of homes under their name, so their numbers are fluctuating. Obviously, super inflated by how much they actually did, right?
But I hear that some of those builder contracts, they're $200 a listing or something like that. Is that what it is?
Probably somewhere in there. It depends on the quantity and all that. I don't do them, so I'm not sure.
Have you ever a builder's never approached you by that because you close so many buyers?
Yeah, they do, but usually it's one or twos. I don't want to list 100 and some homes for them because, like you said, I would have to hire somebody just to data input and manage that stuff to make $200 a listing or whatever. Yeah. So that's not my business proposition per se.
Yeah. Well, you're doing it. What works? It's awesome. So you had last year you had 42 million or 44 million. This year you have 34 million on your team. On you, do you know what your team is doing?
Yeah. So last year we did 88 million for the team.
On top of the 40 million?
No, that was the team number.
Okay, the team.
So that was basically half of it was mine, the other half of it was the rest of the team. And this year will probably be at around close to the same thing. I haven't looked at. Usually I don't look at the final numbers until we get close to the end. I kind of I get a ballpark and I kind of look at the forecast and see what's happening. But we'll have anywhere between 100 to 140 clients on the books at all time. That's kind of what I usually operate.
On the books, is that
under contract? Under
contract, 140?
Yeah, so between listings and buyers or whatever. So yeah.
Wow. And how do you, break that down? How do you manage that on a weekly basis?
It's a tough.
Meetings every day?
No, we have once a week. Actually, it's today's. On Tuesdays, we'll do a backlog meeting and we'll go through every single one of them. And then we talk about what's going on with each one of the clients. And
so a backlog meeting, explain that a little bit.
The backlog, basically, it's everything we have written and under.
So you just basically look at everything And you're looking at leads and stuff like that?
No, we look primarily what's under contract. You know, okay. What are the homes that are on the market? How are they doing? What do we need to change? You know, and then the buyers that are on the contract, what status they're in? Have we followed up on all the things that need to be done?
That's so interesting, because a common theme that we're seeing with these badass agents that I'm interviewing is that y'all focus on the agents that you have. I mean, on the clients that you have. Mm-hmm. And a lot of agents have a bad habit of focusing on getting new clients. Right. But you didn't mention in your meeting that you're talking about new business. You're talking about the business that you already have. Right. And you're focusing on them. So how do you feel that focusing on the current clients kind of like helps itself kind of keep going with the new lead gen, or how does that?
So no, we separate the two parts of the business. So the primary one is let's make sure we're taking care of the ones we have. Right. So
first and foremost.
Yeah, first and foremost. I mean, they're the ones that are going to make your paycheck for the next 2-3 months, right, that you have under contract. So, and then in the meantime, we also are looking at where we are on leads and are we following up on them. So we have an additional meeting on that separate with the actual agents. So this one is like my team, and then to see where we're at with everything. And then we do another one just with the buyer's agents to see where they're at on their production.
Okay, so then the whole team meeting on Tuesdays, and then you have separate listing and then buyer. And what CRM do you use?
So right now we've got a couple of different systems, right? We use Follow a Boss, which is a pretty decent setup. We also use Backlog for the contract. It's easier for them to manage. Yeah. It's really self-explanatory. Yeah. And then I still have a good old spreadsheet.
Really? Mm-hmm. Man, so you use a spreadsheet, but then your team uses Follow Up Boss?
My team is on Follow Up Boss and Backlog, and I'm running things off of my spreadsheet.
What's your spreadsheet look like? What is it?
It's a pretty big. It's got everything from names, addresses to closing dates. You know, so the whole process, appraisal dates, inspections, everything goes in there.
Can't break that spreadsheet habit.
Well, it's just a matter of a really nice, easy snapshot for me when I'm, again, like I said, if I'm on the road or something happens, I can literally pull up and I can look at 130, 140 people in one glance instead of having to scroll down through things.
Damn, you're right. That's
none of the softwares offer that. That's if they did, believe me, I'd love to have one. But the problem with softwares right now is that you go into MLS for something, and then you go into CRM for something else, and then you go into Follow a Boss for something else, and you've got 3, 4, 5 different systems to run. Mm-hmm. So I let the team work on that. I run everything out of my spreadsheet to where I have everything I need in one spot.
And the best CRM is the one that you use, which is including a spreadsheet. If you're using it, then obviously it's working. Right. That's awesome, but I like Follow a Boss for teams. That's what we recommend for teams is Follow a Boss because and you've had a good experience. You're liking it?
Yeah, we've used Follow a Boss for quite a while, and I've tried to actually get out of it because you start looking at costs when you start going up and higher numbers.
They're kind of expensive.
It gets expensive, and not only that, it's like I'm really big on not having somebody else having control over my business. And that's I guess why I like the spreadsheets because they're mine. Is that we've gone through so many software companies that. You pay for them and then they change something, you don't like it. Now you've got to go somewhere else or you got to continue to pay whatever they're asking for. So you really do need to make sure that you're managing that part of your business also on the expenses side, right? To see if it is worth it. The feedback I received from the agents is what kept me going.
Really?
They enjoyed it.
They enjoy it. And so it's worth it.
So if they're using it, I don't have a problem paying it because they're going to use it. Yeah. But if I felt like, it just looks pretty, and then no, we need to stop it.
For sure. And they can get, it's like a couple $100 for like 5 agents or something like that.
Yeah, we're at over 500 right now. $500 a month. Yeah.
Oh no, for a CRM?
Yeah. Oh. Yeah, that's just for like Follow a Boss and then Backlog on top of it. So I've got over $1,000 worth of software a month for sure.
Yeah, but it's the tools,
And that's what I'm saying. So that's why I'm usually very careful about which ones we're gonna use and what makes sense. Otherwise, it can get up even higher than that. Right?
It can sneak away from you. Cool. Moving forward, like we've heard a lot about your business, but what do you think, your secrets to success are? Everyone has usually 1 or 2 secrets that they credit, their outcomes for. So what do you think it is about you?
I guess the way I look at things, a lot of times I try to look at the bigger picture of how to evolve to continue to have a good running real estate company. And I don't focus primarily on just me. Like I said, it's really a lot of times people say, you don't take any credit for stuff, or I have a hard time putting a lot of, like you said, I've got awards and different things that they're sitting on the desk or whatever, and I don't even talk about them, right? Because I don't focus on that. I don't want to remember what happened yesterday. It's more of what's going to happen tomorrow. So I think that part of it really will make a difference to me is just continue to keep pushing forward, getting up every day, doesn't matter how you feel like it, and going out there. I mean, I sold a home during Ike when we had Harvey come through.
During Harvey?
I sold 2 homes, one on Saturday and one on Sunday when Harvey was coming through.
That Saturday and Sunday?
Yes, sir. I did.
Whoa.
I sold the listing and the buy.
Man, I was hunkered down in my house.
I know. But that was the thing that, I was showing the home, obviously, before the storm happened. It wasn't the physical day of being out because it would have been crazy. But those are things that we were working on. And I'm like, I'm stuck at home. I'm like, what am I going to do, right? Yeah. So I'm calling all of my clients, checking in on everybody, make sure everybody's okay. Meantime, I'm following up on people that were trying to buy and people that were trying to sell. And, and I found a couple of people that were like, okay, yeah, so we have nothing else to do either, right? So let's talk about it. And we've got contracts signed. And wow. And it was funny because on Monday, I got texts and calls from title companies, and they're like, I think you're the only one that I saw contract coming from in the city because nobody else was sending anything.
Man, that's crazy.
So
you executed a contract.
And that's really, I think that's the part of it that I keep remembering, going back to whatever I've done since I started doing this is just keep moving, just keep working every day a little bit, and it adds up. Always having the customer in mind and remembering that we are a service provider, right? That's part of my hospitality degree that also helps is that just remembering that we are there to assist the client, to help them with the transaction. And the better you do, the more you take care of them, the better referrals are. And we do. A lot of our business is referrals. So even though I do a lot of the marketing stuff you asked about, I do that because it also works. But, I would say 70 to 80% of our business is referrals.
Wow. And that's another common theme that I'm seeing with these agents that I'm interviewing is the huge referral business. Mm-hmm. And that's gold.
Right.
So take us through a day in the life. Like, what's your day look like? The average day of a guy who works during the worst storm in century.
Right. It's tough because it's one of those things that I've learned that from the beginning. You have a schedule, but you don't have a schedule, right? So we have to have some things on our agenda and like a must-do list almost, where it's like, okay, this is what's going on my calendar, has to be done. But a lot of it's kind of just goes depending on how the day goes and what happens. So, I have... On Mondays, a lot of times, I get up and I'm going through whatever happened over the weekends. So what happened over the weekend, new contracts, follow up on stuff, checking in the office, make sure everybody's okay. Setting up my week, scheduling walkthroughs, closings, whatever. And then on Tuesday, we usually do our backlog meetings. So we go through everything that's happening. On Wednesday, usually that's the day where I try to schedule, meetings and lunches with people. So if I'm going to go visit any of my clients or I'm going to visit any of our vendors or whatever, that's the day I try to schedule a little time to do that.
So you proactively, try to book lunches on Wednesday?
Yeah.
Like meetings and
stuff
like
so
that.
Wednesday's a good day. It's the middle of the week. Allows everybody to kind of get caught up. And, a lot of times you don't have as many closings or things. It kind of moves around, right? So that's the day that I'll go, to do new home grand openings. So if I pull up and there's 3-4 new grand openings or whatever, I'll go check it out, see what they're doing, what's going on.
You mean just go and attend a grand opening event for a new builder? Okay.
Yeah, I go attend those grand opening events. Usually Wednesdays and Thursdays the days that I go to do that, in addition to
and that's just for gaining the knowledge.
Correct.
Gaining the knowledge of the property. Okay.
Yeah, I mean that's the old school stuff. We used, many years ago, if you asked a lot of the agents, what's on the market, right? Mm-hmm. So you had to go out there and walk those properties and see what's going on. So I did the same thing, but I usually do it on new construction. I don't do as much on the resale. The resale, I feel that I know the market enough to where I can pull up out of MLS and kind of get a feel for what's happening. Mm-hmm. But on the new construction, something you don't have as much information unless you really go walk it.
Yeah, and a lot of times it's not listed.
Correct.
Or stuff like that.
Yeah, so that's the part where I will actually go walk. So that way people ask, because I get calls from other agents too a lot of times. So, hey, I've got a client, I'm looking for this area, that area, who do you recommend or where do you go? And I'm like, I'll go see so-and-so or this is new over there, stuff like that all the time.
So are you building, do you make it a point to build relationships with those new home salesmen? Like, is that part of your strategy? Or?
Yeah, I mean, it is. It is to the fact that if my client walks in there, because sometimes they go by themselves, I want them to know who I am and to say, oh, you're Alex's client. Okay, great, right? Yeah. Because last thing you want to do is them walk in there and you know who you are, and now they're taking you and giving somebody else, or the client's not even using you at all.
And that's why I asked. So is that a part of your strategy? Like that you're trying to make sure that everybody do all the big, or I guess all the builders, they already know you. So your clients aren't as at risk. Right. Clients going to a builder is at risk.
It can be a risk. Yeah.
So do you think that you are a little bit safer?
I think because of maybe a little bit of what I've done, has helped me a lot. I have had, honestly, I cannot remember last time I had a client taking from me from a new construction office that they went. I've had incidents where people tried,
Okay.
But my clients would be like, no, I'm working with Alex. And they'd be like, I don't know who that is. And then later on, they'll figure it out, apologize, and say, oh, yeah, I didn't know. Because, there's two things about it, right? One is the salesperson, and knowing from being in that seat, right? Mm-hmm. They're concerned sometimes to make sure that they're going to have a good transaction with that buyer. So they want to make sure the deal is going to close. They want to make sure it's going to be smooth. And if they don't know who they're working with, and there are a lot of realtors out there that don't do a good job, right? Unfortunately, I wish that wasn't the case, but there are. Mm-hmm. So they are also kind of protective of their business. Yeah. So when somebody walks in, if they don't have someone, they may refer to somebody else that they know is going to do a good job because they want the transaction to go well.
Yeah, they want us to close
exactly.
at the end of the day.
Exactly. So you as a real estate agent should try to spend as much time as letting people know who you are, so that things like that won't happen. So if you have a client that's looking for new construction, an area that they're looking for, I would preview that area for sure, because if in case they show up, you let them know, hey, I've got a client and they're out and about. In case they come, here's my information or whatever. There's nothing wrong with that. They'll love to see you come by and visit, because a lot of realtors don't feel comfortable going to new construction.
Yeah. And, I love taking clients to new construction because the guys do all the work. They know everything.
That's
it's
right.
Like they just turn on and they do the spiel.
They're expert in that area, right?
Exactly.
So, but see, you understand that. I understand that there's a lot of agents don't feel comfortable walking into a new home sales office because they feel that person may put them in a position where they're uncomfortable to the fact that they're not familiar with it.
A less of an authoritative position.
Right. And it's also the fact that they don't want to look that they don't know what they're doing.
Man, no, I'm like, this guy's the pro. He works here.
That's
right.
Of
course he knows everything.
But you understand that concept, and it's okay. But I've seen it from both sides where realtors don't feel comfortable bringing the client to new construction sometimes because they feel that person may say or know more than they do about that particular subject, so they don't look like the expert anymore.
That's insecurity.
It is.
There's insecurity. So
that's right.
Do you do anything specifically to educate your clients? What's your consultation like for buyers? Do you cover any of that stuff?
Yeah, it's very funny you ask that. That's something that I actually have, and I recommend every one of our buyers agents to do that. And I would still go back to you have to have it. I mean, I strongly believe in that. I don't think that you should be out showing clients unless you haven't had a chance to do that. Now, mind you, there will be times where, let's say we get a call on one of our listings, and I'll have them do it.
I was gonna say you go show them.
But what happens is that becomes your first consultation there.
Interesting.
If they're in the house with you, and they want to see that particular home, you need to take that 30 minutes to go through the process, because that is the one thing that's also going to differentiate you from anybody else. So if you're just going out there, opening a door, let them run through it and out the door in 10 minutes, you did a disservice for you as well, right?
Yeah, you're a door opener.
That's right.
So interesting. So you try to get them in for the consultation at first, but then if they're, if they want to go run and see property, you'll do it, but you train your agents to do that consult at the property.
Correct.
Interesting. And how do you because is selling new homes a bigger goal? Is it?
No.
It's not a goal. Your goal is to get them in a property.
Right. It's their new home. Remember that.
Yeah. It's their new home. Okay. Cool.
Yeah. The new home is it's something easy. It's something people like it, right? Who doesn't want something new?
Yeah.
If I told you I'm going to sell your old home, nobody's going to want it.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
So it's really what it's about. It's more of a new home to them. So we wanted to focus. Yeah. New construction is exciting. It's fun. It's a lot of times there's less problems and it's somewhat of an easier transaction. Mm-hmm. But there's a lot of people that can't afford new construction. Mm-hmm. So they want something new to them, and that's what you still got to make that exciting, still got to make that fun, and because they're spending a lot of times all they can to buy it.
Yeah, exactly. No, for sure. Cool. And I kept getting hung up on the new home thing,
right?
Because you won that award,
right,
of the new home for the builders,
right?
So how are you? There's got to be something you're doing that's not pushing new homes, but is it just the fact that you know about these properties? Being
involved. Yeah, that's really the part of, like I said, it's just being involved in the new homes and wanting to go to the neighborhoods and get familiar with
having the information.
And having the information, right? Because that is, at the end of the day, what's important. Because you've got to, it's easier for us to get caught up, sit in the office and do stuff, right? Mm-hmm. So if you make a point of being out there every so often and going to see what's going on. If you don't want to do new construction, you go to the open houses, right? Mm-hmm. If you want to do new construction, go to see the models.
Law of attraction.
Yeah, you've got to find out what is that you want to do, and then because the more you do what you want, the more fun it will be.
True that.
So if you enjoy new homes, I do, go see new homes. If you don't and you want to see homes, let's say for example, if I'm a golfer guy, right, and I play golf, I would walk every home that's in the golf course. Why not?
Yeah, that's super smart.
Because I like the golf course. I want to go out there. I'm going to check the golf course out. I'm going to go check the homes out. So that way I have a buyer that's also into golfing. And that's my market, right? That's my niche. I can tell them about every golf course that's out there. I can talk about every home that's out there. Who are the builders in that particular subdivision? What do they offer? You are the expert in that particular field, but you've got to make yourself the expert in that particular field.
Yeah, and that's kind of like fake it till you make it, or in the law of attraction, act as if, you know, and that's something that we really stress to agents too here is that you can choose your business. You know, like choose your business. If you want to sell in a certain neighborhood, go find a listing agent to let you list there or do an open house there, for example.
Yeah, and people don't feel comfortable doing that a lot of times. I have very few agents that call me asking for open houses. I've actually reached out a lot of times because I have maybe more open houses than I have clients, or more than I have agents sometimes. And I've got sometimes 10, 15 people that want open houses, right? And I'll get our people to do it, but then now I'm booked. So I'm booked, so-and-so's booked, so now I need some more people. We'll reach out to other offices, and I get no's all the time.
So we'll make a call to action right now. So if you're in Houston and you're an agent and you want to hold open houses,
that's right.
Hit up Alex Rezende.
Right.
What's your website?
So you can go to multiples. We have a HoustonNewHomeTeam.com.
HoustonNewHomeTeam.com.
I've got AlexRezende.com.
Okay.
And I got NewHomeDude.com.
NewHomeDude.com. Cool. And can they call you if they want to hold a listing?
Of course, yes.
Tell me a number, man.
Yeah. You can call me at 713-516-6106, and I'll get you set up or either through me or I'll get somebody at the office to help you line up. The only thing we ask, obviously, is that, you know, we want to know a little bit about the agents and what are their goals and all those things. So we want to make sure that we know who's going into our clients' house, obviously.
Yeah, a little quality assurance.
Right, of course. Just, you know, we wanted to have the same standard of quality that we're giving to our clients. So if you're going to operate in something similar to that, I have no problem. It could be a different brokerage. I'm not worried about that. It's more of we want to provide that service to the client. And I also believe that if we do a good job for them, you know, providing whether it's them helping with open house or us, they'll refer somebody else, maybe to potentially both. I mean, there's enough business to go around, really.
Yeah, I love that. There's a ton of business. So, you just made a call to action to call you and that you would let people hold an open house at your listing. But so you would let, like, if an agent reached out to you and in the market, you would say yes, possibly.
Oh yeah, I've done it many times.
Man, because I've reached out because, you know, like, or in a neighborhood or my neighborhood or close to the office, I'm like, man, you know, I didn't get the listing, but I'll call the guy for an open house, or he won't return my phone call, or he doesn't return.
I know.
And it's like, well,
it goes back to the insecurity we're talking about. You know, I mean, I have a listing agreement with this guy, and he's my seller, and I've sold him, and I'm going to provide him a service, and we work together. I mean, this is an industry where it is cooperative. You were working with other agents.
Totally.
You know, so many of the sales are done with other agents, right? So you're not going to do it on your own. The percentage is very small. So I figure, why not give it a shot? Somebody really wants to work. I mean, I get calls from everybody, you know, from lawn services to, you know, movers, whatever, you name it, vendors calling me. And a lot of times I will give business to the people that are actually trying to work because they're reaching out to you. They want your work. Right. Yeah. So I just want to make sure that they're good at what they do, at least, so I'm not just referring any Joe Schmo out there. But at the end of the day, I want to work with people that want to work. Why not?
Yeah, you want to help them out. So how do you handle with the sellers? You know, like, is there anything that you say, a little script that you have for like, because I personally would find that conversation slightly, you know, I could pull it off, but I find it slightly tricky to tell my seller, hey, I'm too busy, I'm going to have this guy.
It's not a matter of being too busy. It's a matter of being able to deliver different services to different clients, right? So if I have a client and when you're going through a listing appointment, I try to figure out what are their triggers and their hot buttons, right? So if I'm going through it and that client specifically says, like, for example, I have a scenario just right now. I've got one of our clients that he says, I hired you. I want to talk to you. I don't want anybody from your team. He gets it. That's why he's correct. He hired me. He hired me. He wants me to work for him. I'm going to work for him. I don't have a problem with that. That's totally 100% fine. Now, if I have someone on the other spectrum that said, hey, Alex, I believe in what you have going on. If you have a team in place, it's because you put it there, and I'm okay with working with your team members. Therefore, it allows me to do both, right?
So you are flexible with that?
Yes, absolutely.
Because I've heard some team leaders that say, well, I'm sorry, this is the way that we do business.
No, my client's my client. And if he's hiring me to do the job that he wants me to do, now he's not going to tell me how to run my business, obviously. But in his eyes, I'm his guy, right? So I can have somebody else do a lot of the other stuff that he won't even know that is being done behind the scenes, but I'm still his guy, right? So there's nothing wrong with that.
So is there any what's your little, like, do you have a little spiel for that, like, for your team? Because It is, some agents, it is tricky. I've gotten some pushback even back in the day when I had a little team,
right?
That you are handing stuff off. So do you even like let them know ahead of time, or like do you talk about that? Or they obviously know you have a team,
right?
So do you say like educate them on this is what's going to happen next? You're going to talk to this person or whatever?
So the other thing about it that we tried not to do is my goal is I don't want any client speaking with more than 2 people.
Interesting.
Yes. So if I assign that file to somebody, it's going to be that person plus me.
Oh, okay.
So you could have 10 behind the scenes, but that client's only going to speak with me plus 1.
Okay.
So that way, when situations happen to where, for example, I'm in here and I've got an appointment, I've got somebody else answering those calls or handling that client that he's comfortable with because he knows it's me or that person.
So you tell them you're gonna have 2 points of contact at all times.
Right.
That's a good point. That's good because people like it makes them feel more comfortable. Like wow, if I can't talk to Alex.
Right. And I explain to them the reason why it may be because I am in and out of appointments. So this person is available. Yeah, and this person is available to go over some questions if I'm at a point where I can't answer. However, if you need that answer, give me 20, 30 minutes, 1 hour, whatever. Once I'm done this appointment, first thing I usually do, I get back in my car. Before I drive anywhere, I'll pull up my phone. I'll look at all my text messages, all my emails, whatever. Reply to as many people as I can, if not everybody, and then go on to the next appointment.
Awesome. So do you use any other software, online apps to help communication with your team?
So Follow Up Boss copies everything from your email, right?
Yeah.
So the good thing about it is even though I don't go into Follow Up Boss all the time, my emails get synced into the system. So they get to see everything that I've communicated back and forth with the client.
Oh, okay. That's good.
So that's one of the features that we really do like about Follow Up Boss. The other thing is we have an office email that everybody gets a copy of what the email is.
Oh, okay.
So if I send something out,
it's like info at whatever.
Yeah. So okay. if I get I get something and I want to communicate to somebody else, I'll CC the office to where they all can see it. Or if I need somebody to work on something, I don't tell necessarily the client that's what I'm doing, but when I send that out, it comes back to the office. Somebody else can handle it while I'm out doing something else.
Mm-hmm. So your team saw it. That's
right. So we have basically most of it's through the email. But we do also, like I said, we use the Follow Up Boss to put transaction information and what's happening in each one of the files that we're going through. Right. Yeah. And because Backagent really doesn't have support for that. It's more of dropping documents and stuff.
It's more compliance transaction processing.
Yeah. So Follow Up Boss does allow you to go in there and kind of keep up with what's up in the transaction, and add your tasks to it, or what you're going to follow up on.
So y'all use Follow Up Boss for your for the communication and the project or the management,
right?
Managing your files.
Yeah, in addition to the spreadsheet, right? Because a lot of times, the Follow Up Boss, when the team is busy, which happens, there's times that people are busy and things don't happen. Mm-hmm. Well, I go to the spreadsheet and there's not a date or a time or whatever that's been done. That's my follow back system to where, hey, does this happen?
Oh, so your team has access to that spreadsheet as well?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Well, there's actually technically, they go into Follow Up Boss, they finish something, and they got to update the spreadsheet.
Okay. So it's a master spreadsheet that everything else feeds off of, and they update, and that's the master spreadsheet.
Right. So I can literally log in right now, and I can say, okay, this is what happened on this file that day or that time. And if it didn't happen, I can say, hey, nobody's called for appraisal on this particular property. Can you follow up on it?
Yeah. Awesome. That's great information. So you took us through a day in the life, which is pretty much whatever comes up that day, and you just take it as which is good. That's real estate life, right?
Yeah. I mean, like I said, the goal is you should have certain things on your calendar so that you're going to accomplish it. So, for example, my appointments go in first, my walkthroughs go first, my closings go first. So that goes in the calendar first, and everything else gets pushed around that to whatever time is left, kind of thing.
So what would you say people for managing their time who aren't closing $80 million a year and who don't have closings every day,
right?
So what would you say? Like, do you have any tips for agents for managing their time or things that they should be doing?
Yeah. Absolutely. That's a great question. And I tell my office there all the time. So one of the neat things about what we do is that you don't have a set schedule, right? So it gives you advantages and disadvantages. The disadvantage to you is if you don't control your schedule, somebody else will. The advantage is that you can have total control of your schedule. Almost, right? So you've got a chance where things come up and you got to switch it around or whatever. But you don't have to go, I need a day off because I got to go cut my hair. Or I need a day off because I got to go to the grocery stores. I need a day off because I got to take my car into the shop. You do that on your work day.
Yeah, you get it done.
Yeah, you literally have a chance to go drop your car off, sit in the lobby, work on your laptop, get some stuff done while your car is getting done. Right? So that's one of the advantages that we have in real estate. So if you use your time wisely and you make sure it's being productive, instead of being just on social media and reading sports and all that stuff. We all do that, but that should be maybe at the end of the day relaxing time, or you just kind of had a little lunch and you want to wind down for a minute. That's totally cool. Check in, see what's happening. But at the end of the day, if you're not prospecting in our business, if you're not doing something, you're not going to make a lot of money. This is the way it is. You've got to find a way to make sure you're being productive at all times. So if I'm going to do something and I need today to take a personal day, I'll still make 10, 15, 20 calls to get something done so that I know that, I had some time to do some personal stuff, but I didn't completely 100% stop.
Yeah, you deposited some in the Alex account.
Right.
A little money in the Alex account for the future.
Just a little bit. It doesn't have to be that much, because that day I did take a purpose to say I need a personal day, right? I'm going to do this. But you don't have to completely stop. And that's because if you completely stop, you're going to have a lot harder time getting back at it. It's almost kind of like going to the gym.
Yeah.
If you'd stop, you're going to have a hard time going back in tomorrow.
You made a good point, because like you're having fun, or you say you're having fun and you like doing this. So needing a personal day insinuates that like you don't like what you're doing.
That's right.
And like we have so much flexibility. So that's awesome.
That's right. So that you should try to, associate yourself with people that you have fun with, and then grow, in that particular hobby. I have quite a few hobbies, right? So the ones that I do, for example, I usually meet people there that allow me to also continue to make money, right? So, for example, I'm into car racing.
Oh, really?
I'm a big racer guy. I actually, my off time, if I'm not working, I'm usually at the racetrack riding cars.
Okay, so legal racing.
Yeah, I'm talking about on the track, wheel to wheel with the bunch of other crazy
drag
guys.
Racing?
No, I'm talking about road coursing.
Whoa, what kind of cars do you drive?
So, for example, MSR Houston, familiar with them?
Yeah, I've seen that.
Circle de Americas Coda. I drive over there quite a bit.
What's your race car, man?
So I've got multiple cars, believe it or not.
I do believe I've seen the numbers.
Yeah, believe it or not, I have multiple cars. So right now I have a GT3, Porsche GT3. That's my baby. That's the one that it's definitely a fun car. I've got a Cayman also. It's another Porsche. That one is a strictly race car only. So my GT3 is a street legal car. I can drive it on the track or I can drive it on the road. But my Cayman is a race car only.
It's modded and stuff?
Modded out. All spec'd out to go racing.
Whoa.
So I do that quite a bit. I've got an extra race coming up in November. And I've met a lot of great people doing it, right? So like going back to what I was saying. So I have fun doing that. But I've made money while doing that. So I can tell you right now that my racing fund has been paid by my friends in that business because of the business that I've been able to get from it.
So your GT3 and your other Porsche have been paid for but from that hobby.
So not both cars. Yeah, but one of them for sure.
Well, hey, that says a lot because that's an expensive car.
Right.
And that's what I love about real estate, man, is like we're always working. Not always working, but like, like on a smaller scale, I tell my wife, we go to Lifetime and I love Lifetime, but it's more expensive than most clubs. I'm like, baby, I've made $20,000. I paid for my life at Lifetime from
absolutely right.
Someone that I met there, the towel boy who who got a job, a year later and bought a house.
You're absolutely right. So that's the same thing I'm telling you. So when you have those hobbies, and you should, because you can't be on all the time, you also have an opportunity there to meet people. I have people all the time. They see me and they friend me on Facebook, or they see something, they see a comment, or I got a lot of my friends saw the awards for the Realtor of the Year, right? So they send me texts, messages. So when I'm at a next event, they make a big deal about it too, right? So they're like, "Oh man, that's awesome! I'm riding with the top guy in the city, whatever."
Hot shot.
Yeah, and then other people that don't know about it, now they hear it. Now they're like, "Oh, what do you do?" You know what I mean? So I've had a lot of my clients come from there, and they refer me out to other clients as well. My mechanic is one of my best clients. He's referred me a ton of clients, and I've bought and sold his home with him too.
Wow.
I go and fix my car all the time. I'm his client. He's my client.
And that's a great point. Have fun and, kind of like double down on who you are and what you do, right. Because a lot of business can come from that. And you're just, people want to work with people they know, like, and trust,
right.
and
Correct.
people who are like them.
Right.
And so, like, you're a racer, but you happen to sell houses during the day.
Right. Yeah. Coffee and cars. There's fun events all the time.
Those are great people to be around because they all can afford badass cars.
Yeah. The Lamborghini Festival, they just had one this past weekend. That was fun. I had a lot of my friends there too. So that's the kind of stuff that, I enjoy that. I go do that. I also, go to sporting events just like everybody else. And in time I go, I try to usually bring a friend or a client, somebody that refers business. I do take care of my people. That's one of the things that when you're asking about what's different, I can tell you is that I invest money in my clients. Because I believe that if I do, they're not going to be a one-time client only. So let's say if you made a $5,000, $10,000, $20,000 commission on a client, if you take them to dinner, if you do something for them and you make them feel appreciated, you get that money twice fold over for sure. Yeah. Whether back from them again or from another person that they know that would like to be treated the same way that you treated them, right?
I love that. So you go above and beyond as like you take them to games and stuff like that, like the Rockets games and Texans games. And man, I'm a big proponent of gift baskets, and there are some agents who I've talked to who like, well, I did my job. I shouldn't need to buy anything. Right. And I would spend sometimes $500 on a gift basket, like you said, $10,000 commission, and I have custom shirts made. I get Johnny Walker Blue Label and do it big. But some agents, they don't want to spend more than $50 or $100. Right. And I think it's stupid.
Yeah. Well, and also it's not the amount. It's really one of the things that I've learned. Some coaching, we all should have some sort of coaching. One of the things that I've learned is that it has to be something that's going to touch that person to where they feel special. So it could be $50, it could be $100, it could be $10. But if for example, let's say somebody's pregnant, they have a kid coming, and you buy or you make something. I'm not that kind of guy. I'm not going to go out there and make. But let's say you crochet something.
You can buy something on Etsy.
Right, exactly. Let's say you go and crochet something for their baby, right? They have a baby coming. That's going to touch them. That's personal, right? It's not about the money per se. It's more of how can you connect with that person.
Thoughtful.
That's right. You want to be thoughtful.
And more on the gifts things. There's a reason Johnny Walker Blue is expensive, but it's not about the money. Right. It's the fact that every agent that every client that I've given that to still has that bottle on their liquor shelf, and they say, hey man, let's take a sip of that bottle you got me 10 years ago.
That is correct.
So like things like that.
Right, but that's what I'm saying. They can connect it back to you, right? If I just go and I give you $50 gift card to go eat somewhere or whatever, it's usually not going to do it. Now, there are some clients that they're okay with. That's what they want. Like a lot of times I'll ask when we go to closing to say, what's your favorite restaurant? And they'll say, I like here, I like there. So I'll go and I'll get them a gift certificate from there. And I go, all right, well, here's the deal. I want you to go and enjoy dinner on me or whatever. And I said, but I do have one thing that I asked you to do is you take a selfie at the restaurant that I've sent you guys to and send it to me.
That's awesome.
Right? So now I've got two things. I've got a happy customer and I've got a marketing material, right?
Little asset. And they do that, right?
Right, of course, yeah.
And they do that. That's great.
Yeah, so I can post it and and usually we do drawings too.
Oh, awesome. Yeah. Like what? Like drawings for just randomly?
Yeah, random things. So I put all the clients in the list and say, hey, we just had a drawing one this month. So people kind of continue to check in with you.
Your past clients?
Yeah, past clients.
Man, that's...
Yeah. Yeah, because they'll check with you. They're like, hey, who's winning what? What did you give it away this month, right? You want to
That's amazing because I instantly thought you did it for new... And that's focusing on the people that you already have. Right. Wow. So just like every quarter or like twice a year, you do a contest.
No, we'll do a monthly sometimes. I'll just go, hey, we need a contest for this month and do
for
something.
your past clients only. Yeah. I love that idea.
Yeah, it could be like I said, it could be $50 sometimes, or sometimes let's say I won an iPad or at an event and I don't need another one. I already have it, right? So now I'm like, okay, let's give that away to another client. So
and
things
you're just
like that.
Another reason to stay in touch with them and you're just giving value.
Right.
I love that, man. That's awesome. So man, it's been a great interview. I've learned so much stuff. Like wrapping up, like I always like to ask, what would you say to a young agent who's just getting started or wants to get started? What advice could you give them that could help them get started on the right foot and not get super depressed if they don't sell anything?
Right. Well, the biggest one is definitely you've got to have faith in yourself, and you got to believe that if you do the right things and you just kind of keep working at it, you can get yourself in a position where you're going to be successful in anything, not just in real estate. But you've got to be able to not give up. It's the biggest thing.
That's mindset, right?
Yeah, just don't give up, knowing that if you're doing the right thing, it's going to come around. It may take some time, but every time you go out and you show a property, it's pay training. Every time you go out and you show a rental, it's pay training. You may not get $1 at that particular moment, but once you convert something, you can divide it by all the times you've done and you receive something for it.
You're going to do good, yeah.
Right, so you just really have to keep plugging away and keep pushing out. The other thing that I've noticed that I try to touch base with all of our agents is manage your expenses. That really is one of the toughest things in our industry, and I think that's one of the things that makes some people successful and some people are not successful is because they don't manage their money right.
Budget. How you say that word? I can't even say
budget,
it.
Right?
Budget? No.
And it's tough to say budget because it's really not so much of a budget sometimes. It could be almost more of a lifestyle. It's almost like same thing with diet, budget. Those words are so horrible, right?
Yeah.
It's really a lifestyle thing. It's more of, green light, red light.
I love that. Yeah, from Millionaire Real Estate.
Yeah, Gary Keller, right? So that green light, red light really does work to the fact that, do I have the money? Should I spend the money?
Yeah.
What am I going to get if I do spend the money?
Yeah, so everyone who doesn't know what the green light, red light, that's Gary Keller, Millionaire Real Estate Agent.
Correct.
Talks about holding your money accountable.
Right.
And once a month, like if it's working, green light it. If it's not working, red light it.
Right.
I love that.
Yeah, so that is really a big one. I'll say if you're a new agent, control your expenses. It's a lot easier to do it in the beginning than it is later.
Oh, my God, I know, man.
Yes, so control your expenses and keep working, keep plugging it away, and, get out there as much as you can. The more you're out, the more you go look at open house, the more you connect with salespeople, the more you connect with title companies and all those different vendors that are out there, the higher of chance of you being successful. Even if you're not, sometimes, like I said, the fake it until you make it. People see you everywhere. They, man, he must be doing something right?
Act as if, act as if.
Yeah.
I love that. Well, man, awesome. So what's next on your plate? Any plans for the future? Any expansion? Any businesses that you're going to be doing?
It's very interesting you say that. I've always looked at, I'm not much of a getting stuck to the numbers kind of guy, right? I believe that sometimes you could be number 1, 2, 3, 5 and not have a very well functioning machine, and just kind of have numbers by default because you are so big. And you've got so many people under you and all these different things. So I try to focus on being the most efficient we can. I'll tell you, like I said, if you look at the amount of transaction or the funds by the size of my team, we do a lot.
Highly productive.
So it's a very highly productive team. And I think that's the part where I continue to evolve is to make them better so that they can continue to do better for all of us. And that allows me to obviously focus on other things. So I would say this year, being here with you is part of it. I think I do need to get out a little bit more. I've had people ask me about doing coaching and other things, and I've been thinking about it. I've been looking into it. Maybe consider doing coaching for new agents or even experienced agents.
Man, you should, because the information is extremely valuable. And, if you can save an agent, like 6 months of falling on their face, that's can put them on the crazy path, success.
Yeah, so that's part of what I think that's one of the goals that I've been kind of it's been evolving, and I'm kind of trying to get comfortable with the idea of actually doing it. Just not because I don't think I can, it's more of feeling comfortable putting myself out there to do it.
Yeah, saying, man, but you got the stats and you got the credibility and the rap sheet to do it. So I hope you do it.
Right.
Well, Alex, it's been an absolute pleasure. And is there anything you want to say to the audience before we wrap it up?
Our motto, we have one. It's to assist Houston. Basically, actually, I'll go back a little bit, but it's basically to help Houstonians to realize the American dream of homeownership. And that has been our goal from the beginning. I love the fact that we can help make a difference in our city. We've had a lot of big things happen here that made everybody feel awkward and uncomfortable and sometimes sad about all the things that have happened. And I think that our industry is a big, big portion of what happens in the city. Whether there's a new home or resale, commercial building, apartment complex, whatever, we have such an impact. Most people don't know, but when you sell a home, a resale affects somewhere between 50 to 100 families. New construction is 200 to 300 families. So that goes from the guy cutting the grass to the maintenance guy, to whatever you name it. If you look at how many people are involved in every one of those sales, there's so many families that come behind the sale. So when we get up as a salesperson, we'll go out there and make that sale. The impact in our economy is huge.
I love that.
And that's the part of we have to realize that you're making the contribution in many different ways and assisting your clients to accomplish what they want, but in addition to that, to keep the economy going. So I think that don't take what we do lightly to think that it's just selling a house or it's just doing that. No, it's a major impact to our economy. And I think that if you look at it that way and you realize that how much of impact you can do and how you can help a community develop, you get an investor, for example. They go out there and they buy a property that looks like crap, and they can turn it around and make a neighborhood look so much better because now that property looks so much better.
Just one house.
It increases everybody else's value.
Keeps going.
Makes the community look better. So those are the things that people sometimes look at investors and say bad things about them, but they really do make a decent impact in the neighborhood. So if you look at what can you do to make that difference, to make Houston better for all of us, that's one of the things I can leave out there is to say, trying to find out something where you can make an impact to help us continue to be one of the best places to live.
I love that, man. Well, on that note, thanks so much again. And I look forward to one day we'll possibly get you back on the show, man.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Alex. And everybody, thanks so much for tuning in today. I'll check you later.
Thank you, Adam.